there's many things that I want to talk about and many things that I don't want to talk about. The things that I don't want to talk about are the things that I do want to talk about. I want to talk about how my day went. I want to talk about how cold it is. I want to talk about how old I am. I want to talk about how my body hurts. I want to talk about how I can't do it anymore. But in social media, those aren't really the places to talk about those things. And I also don't want to be so unrelaxed that I can't be talked to. But I would like to relax enough to maybe oscillate within 4 topics, and one would be gifted intelligence and pride, Isaiah 52, and the passage, "He who seeks to save his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my name's sake and the Gospels, he shall find it." And if I can oscillate within those, I should be okay. The Bible says, as far as the church goes, that all things should be done in decency and order, and what that means is in formality. So, when you go into a church and they're letting the Spirit run amok, and they're doing backflips, and they're running laps around the pews, and they're talking uncontrollably in tongues and things like that, one of the fruits of the Spirit is temperance, which is self-control. So, by their fruits you shall know them. You judge them by their fruits. I said the word judge. The reason why I said the word judge is because there are 3 types of judging, and don't let anyone fool you. The first type is judging by personal preferences. You know that's wrong. The second is judging hypocritically. You know that's wrong. The third is judging by the word of Elohim, and that's the responsibility of every believer. And don't let anybody take that away from you. That's the 4th finger. I can hold it up high. So oscillating within those perimeters, the gifted intelligence, I didn't recognize my own giftedness until I was in my 40s. And it's many of my friends and many of the people that were gifted that I recognized along the way, they're not alive anymore to speak or to hear. And I speak for them, I do. In many ways, hopefully even now, just even in my spirit. But I recognize gifted. I don't want to start out sentences with the word I. I'm trying not to. I recognize other gifted intelligences by their characteristics. And I always come across them. I come across them on Craigslist. I come across them just girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever. I think there's a spiritual component to it. There's something that rots me to become who I am, rots them to do what they do, go to jail, whatever they deserve. For an example, there was 2 landlords back. I put that gentleman in jail. He put himself in jail. And the officer that took him to jail told him, he said, "You did it to yourself." And he had his concealed weapons permit taken away from him and wound up getting counseling or something. He's supposedly some Christian in one of these hocus pocus churches in the area, and he's a kind of, because of his giftedness and his pride, he won't stop I have to mention to you that a lot of the people that I come across that know that they're gifted because they were tested and they faintly remember their test scores. This gentleman was at least genius level, so he was at least he had an intelligent quotient of 130. And I tried to encourage him, do more with it. Don't, get into Mensa and stuff. You're going to get into pride, but get into Mensa, do something with it. Don't just, let it. Anyway. They faintly remember their test scores, and I think it's because they were tested in prison. And that's why they remember them. Because most of the people that I come across that are gifted are criminals. Or were criminals. I was a criminal. Why not? So, and I'm not saying why not as like a wardrobe. Why don't you just try it on? So here it is, and this is ironic, and I've not shared this with anyone or dared to. Next landlord up, or next landlord ahead, was a Craigslist landlord as well, but a 1-year lease, a contract, at least something that I could sign and they could sign that we could go to court to, and they could, you could see that you can't evict me at least without, some kind of notice or something. And this was one of them. And this guy is property management consultant or some bullshit, And the people that came to, the officers that came to serve me the papers to evict me from that place, and they did the loud, intimidation knock when I was sleeping after I, had lunch and everything, and it scared the shit out of me and woke me up, and I was inoculated with fear when they walked in. And I had my recorder in my hand when they walked in because I'd been waiting for them, and I'd been waiting for the landlord to pull crap on me. And the recorder comes on. Before I answer the door, I ask him, who is it? What do you want? Routine. They come in, and they have to use a key to get in because it's a secured entry place. And they come in, and, hey, I know you. And it was the officer that took the other gentleman to jail. The officer called him a jackass. And I caught it on video. It was just very small townish. Anyway, I've got this recorder in my hand. They know it. And they know whether I got weapons or not. They can see a weapon. They can see a weapon hanging off my bed. And they come in. So we're talking about my apartment. Oh yeah, it's salmon. It was salmon that I cooked. Yeah, they like the smells. And I'm like, well, whoever constructed this place, the drywallers, they had to sober up for a couple days to figure this out, because when you would lay in bed and you look at the angles this way, and they say, oh yeah, the other apartments, they don't have these other angles like this. And anyway, I'm recording all this, and they say, well, we talked about the last landlord that unfortunately had to be escorted to jail. And this was I'll get to it later, but they asked me, they said, hey, you're good people. Anybody around here, any neighbors or anything like that giving you trouble that we need to know about? And I thought that was very humbling, but I thought it was very low-livish at the same time, so I rejected it very promptly because it was low-livish and it was not something that a police officer should be saying to me, and I recorded it and they knew it was recorded. But anyway, while this was happening, there was an investigation going on for like 4 years, somebody looking for people. There was a reward out for somebody. And I took it upon myself to find out who it was. I post my publications. One of them is Unraveling the Art of Deception. And one day I saw a posting close to mine for a reward for somebody that did something very, very horrible. And I noticed that it was very, very close to mine, and I noticed that the kind of things that I look into are very, very horrible, and I looked into it. And no one could give me no law enforcement could give me any information on it. And all the family members are retreated, and they're almost in the grave themselves because they can't take it. In my hardships, those who seek to save their life will lose it, and those who seek to save their life, or those who seek to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my name's sake, they shall find it. And the passage of Isaiah 52, which is, Awake, awake, put on strength, O Zion, put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem. For henceforth thou shalt no more come into the uncircumcised and the unclean. Shake thyself from the dust, arise, sit down and take your seat, O Jerusalem, the holy city. Loose thyself from the bands about thy neck. I don't know if I got it all right there, but that's the gist of it. And so I'm trying to do that. And in so doing, I'm backing off on my cleaning accounts. I'm scrubbing toilets less and getting less grief from these people that don't deserve my humility. And I'm putting more into publishing my work, where I'm finding these cases, where I published my book, The Part About the Serpent, where you could read about these things in detail, not the specific incident in detail, but these types of things in detail from me, and more serious, far more serious, in the book. And in 1 year, this happened 4 years ago, this person eluded FBI, they eluded law enforcement, local law enforcement for 4 years. In 1 year, I'm being evicted from my apartment. I'm going to lose my guitar. I lost my guitar. I've lost my health. I had pneumonia for like 4 months, working while I had it for $9 an hour from some place where I got pneumonia from. They will not help me when I'm sick, forever. I'm going to lose my vehicle. The banks, I don't have enough money on my phone to return the bank's phone calls. And I tell them, go ahead and have it. I'm trying to help law enforcement, something really serious right now, and I can't do anymore. I don't have any more physical, I don't have any more calculation, I don't have any more, there's nothing more. And all I know is that when things get narrowed down to where I don't have any more options, then that's where God wants me. I told detectives, come to my apartment and sit at my table. When I am run out of gas on the side of the road, or I'm broke down on the side of the road, and there's a house up on the hill where there's a light on, it's about that house up on the hill, and that's all I know. I don't know anything else. Me, I'm already saved, and I don't care about. The sooner I'm out of this life, the better. I didn't like it here when I got here. I don't like it here today. But what led me to understand who this person was, did I even mention it? That I was led to the person it was that did the crime? Did I even mention that? It was because they have a gift of intelligence themselves, and they probably don't even know it. And the reason why that law enforcement and the FBI doesn't know it is because they've got lives to live, and they've got to nourish up themselves, and they've got 2-for-1 suits to buy, at JCPenney, and they've got soccer practice, and they've got pictures to put up on the wall, and they got puppy dogs, and they got computers, and they got wives and wedding rings and all kinds of, and this is all biblical, nourishing up themselves. I was at my desk at 2 a.m. last night. I was at my desk at 3 a.m. I was at my desk at 6 a.m. I was at my desk at 4 a.m. I was at my desk at 5 a.m. yesterday, 3 a.m. the day before, 2 a.m. tonight. God willing, I'll be at my desk tomorrow. I cannot stop working. I can't take weekends off, and either can the people that were murdered it was not convenient for them to be murdered. It's not convenient for me to find out who did it. And there are some detectives out there that should not be detectives because they are living in some delusion, in some fantasy land. And I'm not saying that detectives are out there playing video games or something and they're just like totally deluded, or they're, you know, just out of their minds or anything, and the you know, their training regimen should be, you know, audited or something like that. It's kind of an unwittingly thing. It's that they're following the ways of the world. They're following the ways of the world because they've got their guts to serve. I've got mine. They see one way, I see the other. I see the criminal that they can't catch. The reason why I see it is because it's far more horrible than they would ever expect or ever admit or ever dare to even just, I mean, bring into their mind. It's and that's the reason why, I mean, you got criminologists like John Douglas. He had to get out of it. He winds up in the hospital and stuff because he's following the criminal mind to the point. And I'll give you an example is where John Douglas would follow. He has to be empathetic with his criminal to be able to catch them. In order to find a tracker, in order to find his prey, to be a successful tracker, he can't just determine where the, try to determine where the object is that he's trying to track by physical cues. He has to determine its state of mind. And so someone like John Douglas, he winds up in the hospital trying to put himself in other people's shoes, the killer's shoes. I mean, dirty shit. Stuff that I can't quite get into, like when a criminal, when he, say a man is when he's gaining sexual pleasure by hurting a woman, okay, I can walk through a lot of crime and everything, but like when it comes to taking something from a woman that she hasn't given to me, oh, you just go blow, you know, because I'm not going to give her that much. But someone like John Douglas has to, or did, and it cost him. And maybe it's good that he doesn't pursue those kinds of thought. I won't allow myself to do it. I can't. It's something else. It's something other than pleasure, I'll tell you that. Anyway. Giftedness, pride. Isaiah 52. Those who seek to save their life will lose it. Those who lose their life for my name's sake shall find it. And I didn't get to tell you about all the people who tried to seek to save their life, like the crooked landlords that got that resisted my insisting upon written receipts, Craigslist landlords, for rent. The landlords who tried to twist things that I was behind on rent and just some vagrant trying to get away with, being irresponsible. To the banks who thought that to the people that law enforcement is looking for is scared out of his mind, who is coming up with lies so profound that a blonde like me can catch it. These people they're seeking to save their life. They're trying to hide in that covering. That's something that John Douglas was very good at, is when someone covers something, he can find that, and so can I. So, if John Douglas, say, walked into a crime scene where somebody just meant to do it and they didn't care, they wouldn't know what to do. That wouldn't be that's not his element. He wouldn't be able to catch a criminal there. But as soon as somebody tries to hide something, he knows where that is, because he used to be that kind of person, and he is honest enough with himself, the type of people the characteristic that Elohim is looking for, someone who is honest with himself. That's what made him a good detective. The prideful detective, he is out of there. And I heard it said in law enforcement, as soon as you become complacent, you're dead. And I know that's more in the physical, but I've talked to detectives, one at my table, two at my table. One, I told him, I said, this gentleman knows that he's smarter than you, and that man became so prideful that I know. The other gentleman accepted. He was humble, at least, to what I said, and taking a back seat to the prideful detective. This gentleman, I know, and I hope you know, just in my spirit, just that I'm talking about this, some gentleman over here, he's going to be a good detective just because he was humble. Not because he listened to me, just because he was humble. Even if I was wrong. But here's a story. I still have the truck. The truck is probably running, if someone got in it to buy it, they would probably go, wow, this thing is running exceptional for its age. And I'm always concerned about it. It might not be doing that tomorrow, but today it was running exceptional. It was purring. I haven't had it purr in a long time. And it goes through hard stuff. I have my guitar again. I've posted some of the videos on YouTube. I hope you get to enjoy them or criticize them or whatever you can do with them. The guitar is the most beautiful guitar anybody has ever seen, including myself. And I was just going to go back to a pawn shop and maybe offer $100 to some old other guitar, and I saw my guitar back on the wall, and it was only $10 more for what I would have had to pay for it if I bought it back while it was illegally mine. And I bought it back. No one's played it since. And I'm so happy that I did. And those are just physical things, but they are blessings. They mean so much to me, so much to us. I hope if there's anybody out there that I may have encouraged just even a little bit in anything that I said, or maybe invigorated, or I don't know if I know all the words. Holpen, I like that word, holpen. And quicken and holpen. And remember the word unto thy servant, upon which thou hast caused me to hope. This is my comfort in my affliction, for thy word hath quickened me. In the name of Yeshua, amen.